morning, afternoon. Today, just going to talk about what I've seen come up a lot is the feeling that we're constantly pushing and trying to force things, which then leads into having control, right? And many people will say, well, I don't feel like I need control, or am a control freak, or need it just so. But I want to talk a little bit about how force versus moving towards, or push instead of pull, affects how our body works. And so if we're in a force mentality, so mental, emotional, physical, all of our beingness is like pushing, pushing, pushing. You will notice it show up in rigidity of being able to adapt. It'll show up in your body with more immobility than maybe you're used to, or maybe it's just like this slow, gradual immobility that you used to maybe be able to touch your toes and now you can't, and be able to like look over your shoulder in your car, and now you feel like, well, with your neck, now you feel like your whole shoulder needs to shift. And so I personally can feel when I'm pushing, like there's a time for movement and for action, but when I feel like I'm pushing hard, controlling, forcing, and making sure it just needs to be just like this, my stomach feels weird. It's twirly, kind of. It's maybe unsettled is the best word. It's not necessarily anxious, but I can't really determine what it is. I get pressure in my head, and my left shoulder blade starts to talk to me. So most of us aren't aware of what our body is even telling us. You don't even need to know what it's telling you, but being aware of that it's actually talking to you and giving you messages. When we continue to shove it down someone's throat or our throat, or we need to meet this goal by this time and this time and this time, I'm not talking about not moving forward and not taking action and accomplishing your dreams and goals. None of that. It's the energy of force versus I'm going to move towards this, the energy of push versus pull, and allowing. And so when you feel rigidity in your relationships, when you feel like you can't really just settle down, when you feel like there's a level of agitation, the resilience decreases, so it doesn't take much just to like trip your trigger. Those, for me, are all signs that I'm pushing a little bit too hard. The opposite is also true for me. I know my extremes. I know when I'm pushing really hard or I'm avoiding, and so the avoiding will give me similar symptoms. Then it's just for me to figure out. Listen to what your body's telling you, right? Listen to what your body's telling you first, then figure out what that means, because every physical symptom starts with an emotional component. Something is imbalanced, something is out of alignment, no pun intended, chiropractic alignment. Something is off, and being aware of what's off, now taking it back and figuring out, like, yeah, if I actually go through my day or my week or how my life has been, this completely makes sense. People will chase their pain. Like, what if you chase your pain or symptoms the same as letting your foot off the pedal? Does that make sense? What if instead of pedal to the metal all the time, you could take your foot off? And that would allow your right brain and the parasympathetic nervous system to come in and help and calm the system and ease the system from a tensed, controlled, forced state. That's chiropractic. Bye.